Hi, this is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. Let's talk about adjusting stitch size on a knitting machine. This is equivalent to choosing a size of needles when hand knitting. Most machines do it pretty much in the same way. Your stitch size will affect the gauge of your fabric and how softly it drapes or how tightly and windproofly it is knitted.
Now let's talk about stitch size. Many people refer to this as the tension dial. I prefer to speak of it as the stitch size dial because I refer to what's on the mast as tension. Some of this is to do with my background as a seamstress, and the tensioner on a sewing machine is doing exactly what the mast tensioner is doing. The other reason I like to do it is to keep the two concepts differentiated clearly, because what you set this on and what you set this on are not necessarily the same thing, and they're only somewhat related, not entirely related. If you have too loose a stitch size, your stitches will be bigger than you want. Let's knit a few rows with enormous stitches. This is a yarn I would normally knit at stitch size 3 to 4. And you can clearly see the difference between where I was and what's happening now at stitch size 10. If I go back to a much smaller stitch size, I'm at 0 now. It may knit or it may get very difficult. Look what happened. See, they didn't actually knit over. And it's going to make some jams the next row. If you have that happen, a totally wrong size row, unknit it and return to a correct size, and now we're knitting fine. So if the knitting becomes very difficult to knit, double check that you're not too tight here. If the stitches are sloppy, you're probably too large. If there are stitches falling off at the edge, or stitches are only too tight at the very end, you probably have a tension problem even more than you have a stitch size problem. Well, I should say I call tension what goes on up here and stitch size what goes on down here. Not everybody does, but it helps me to keep the concepts clear and distinct.